Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of running and playing with Jimmy and Tom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone are the days of living and being with Daddy and Mom. You have your records of Hoppy and Gene. They got that country feeling, you know what I mean. Every time
Hi, welcome. Welcome to It Takes a Village. Who's in Santa Barbara? What's in Santa Barbara? What are the resources of Santa Barbara? And what does Santa Barbara need? We all know that for our political life, we need lots of information about the candidates. And we have a very interesting guest today. His name is Ed Fuller, and he's running for state assembly. Let's learn a little bit about Ed Fuller. Hi, Ed. How are you doing?
Hi, Bonnie. I'm doing great.
Good, good.
Thank you for having me today.
Yes, I have some questions here for you. And I realize that you're on the Goleta Planning Commission and very involved in political action. Tell me a little about this.
I was appointed to the Goleta Planning Commission in 2014, and one of the first things I did, or was asked to do as a planning commissioner, was to approve the update to the Goleta City's housing element. And when we were presented with this update, the staff told us that this is what we had to approve in order to have the state approve it, because these updates all have to be approved at the state level by the Housing and Community Development Department in Sacramento. And I wasn't sure this is exactly what the community wanted, because the Housing and Community Development Department in Sacramento has an idea of how big the state should get, and they want it to grow quite a bit. They 5 million in a very short order. So what they do is they tell the regional governments how many housing units they need to provide, which then those governments tell the local communities how many housing units they need to add to their community.
Right.
And some communities would prefer to stay the same size that they are. And I just saw this as not necessarily what the people want. At least that's what I believe.
Well, it's interesting you're appointed to a position to support the will of the people, and then you face mandates.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From Sacramento.
Wow.
Right. So that's why I'm actually running. That's what got me into running, is that I want to stop Sacramento's state mandates. I'm going to lead an effort to repeal the housing element, so local communities can grow if they want to, or they can stay the same size. It should be up to them.
Well,
I think it should be up to the citizens.
It's a most critical time to get the voice of the people out in our political realm, that's for sure. What are you going to do to fix our roads?
Once I decided I was going to run, I started looking into issues, and of course roads is a big one. There's an estimate that we're going to be short about $130 billion over the next 10 years. We're not going to have the revenues,
Wow.
which is about $13 billion a year. The problem is that the gas excise tax hasn't been raised since 1994, and everything's gone up since then, of course, right? The cost of building roads. And while the cost of building roads has gone up, the fuel efficiency of cars has gone up, which means that they go more miles per gallon. Therefore, the tax revenues to repair the roads have not kept up with the amount of money it's required to maintain them. So that's an issue I want to look at addressing when I get up there. But there's one that really bothers me, and that is that in 2006, the citizens of the state of California passed Proposition 1B, which was a transportation bond. $19 billion to fix the roads and fix the ports. In the description of the bond, when the voters were voting on it, the state said that the revenues were going to come from the general fund. Well, shortly after it was passed, the legislators in Sacramento decided that they should just take it from the transportation fund, right? The money's to repay it. So, it was a transportation bond, so let's just use transportation monies. Well, that's $1 billion a year that they've been siphoning off that would have gone to, maintain our roads and fix them. Well, the citizens of the state got wise, and in 2010 passed Proposition 22, which said you can't take monies from one fund and use them somewhere else, right? I mean, you got to balance your budget and live within your means, and don't be robbing this fund to pay that one.
Interesting.
And just after this got passed, the state, by a 2/3 majority in both the Assembly and the Senate, and the governor's signature, decided to continue taking money from the transportation fund to pay off these bonds. So they've been, they've been ignoring the will of the people, right? And that's one of the things I want to do my best to change as well. I think that's wrong. I think the will of the people should be what the legislators do, and not the will of somebody else. I don't know who.
You wonder who else is
that? Who's running the show up there anyway? And
also, you've been past president of the Santa Barbara Real Estate Association.
Right, Santa Barbara Association of Realtors. I was president in 2014. It was an honor and a privilege to serve as their
leader?
Yes, well, of course, they're a leader, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I was their advocate on issues. I was the front man for the organization, 1,200 members.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it was a privilege and a high responsibility, but yeah.
It sounds like you've taken some visits to Sacramento in your time.
Yeah, I've also been a director for the California Association of Realtors, which is a 190,000 member organization.
Wow.
Yeah. And there's 3 business meetings a year for directors. One of them is in Sacramento, where we go and we visit the state legislators and discuss legislation that affects private property rights and the real estate business. I've been a real estate broker for 37 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
Right, and when I first got into the business, one of the first things I did was join the local government relations committee at the association. So I've been monitoring the local legislation that affects private property rights for decades.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. And my interest in politics goes back to when I was about 13 and I was watching national conventions
Really?
for presidents. Yeah.
That's interesting for a 13-year-old to be kind of in that topic. It's very specific.
Yeah, I was watching William F. Buckley and and the Sunday political shows. And spent time watching C-SPAN.
Fascinating.
So I've got a little background in this.
I think also I was really impressed by the incredible amount of information you seem to have. And I think I asked you, how do you find out all of these things? And I know you actually go and visit and participate a lot, but you also said that you go online a lot.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
You'll confess.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
My website was one of the, my real estate website was one of the first real estate websites up. It hasn't been updated in forever, but
yeah.
And I've been involved in using technology since the mid-'80s.
So you don't have a tech allergy like I do?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I built my own computer and.
Wow, amazing. Okay, how will you work to address the need to provide adequate, stable, and ongoing funding for our schools and students who make up a large population of our nation?
Yeah, well, the state actually is in good shape as far as the budget goes right now. There's problems in that a large percentage of the income comes from the very high tax earners. And that's when they have capital gains on their stocks, the state taxes it at ordinary income rates. So when times are really good and people are making money with stock dividends or with stock options, then the income to the state's real good. But
Uh-huh.
when times go bad, well, these people, they're not making any money,
Uh-huh.
and so the income levels drop. One of the things that the state has done that I think we should change, the legislature thinks it's best that school districts do not have their own individual reserves. And I think that school districts should be allowed to keep reserves on their own. I mean, you can't always trust the state to do the right thing.
Oh dear.
It's great
That's
that it's great that the
statement.
state's putting away a rainy day fund, and,
Yes.
and I think that they should increase to do that, because the finances of the state are so up and down, depending on the economy. And we
Wow.
have a constitutional obligation to balance the state budget.
Right, right. Wow. Please share your views on LCFF and the current role of the state in education funding. I have no idea what LCFF is.
Yeah, LCF, people don't, not everybody understands that about 60% of the funding for schools comes from the state level.
Wow, that's a lot.
Right, many people think it's all property taxes, but that's pretty much old history.
Uh-huh.
So the state had very complicated and highly restricted uses for these funds in the past, and they recently revised how they fund schools, and it's now with what's called the local control funding formula, where it's almost like block grants to school districts. They still pay per pupil per year, per school day attendance, but the school districts have a lot more leeway what they're going to use the money for. Now, the Common Core curriculum is pretty much mandated throughout the state, so we're going to have a common curriculum. That's not going to be one of the school districts won't have much choice about that. But how much they pay their students, how well they keep up their buildings, and actually they're required to maintain, put a certain amount away for buildings. But they have some discretion as to how they use these funds and what they use them for. But the idea also is that the local community will be involved, and that's why they call it local control funding formula.
Right, right.
It's not just the school district, and the school districts are required to prepare a local control accountability plan. So,
Right.
yeah, this is it's like a report from the school district that says what they're spending
What
the
they're
money
up
on,
to. Yeah.
right, and what the results are, and where they're trying to achieve.
Yes.
And one of the things the legislation does is it requires the school districts to reach out to parents and to the community.
Really?
Yes, to get input on this. So
Wow.
these are good things.
Yeah, yeah. It says here, Quality Counts 2016, a yearly nationwide education accountability study, notes that the average per pupil spending in California was $8,339 in 2012, while the nation's average was $11,841. So we spend a little less, I guess.
Right, and that's actually out of date.
Okay.
Yeah, that's we
Don't
spend
do that
about
anymore.
we spend about 10,500 per pupil.
Oh,
The
interesting.
national average is about 11,500, so we're a little below
You're
the
closer.
national average, and,
Yeah.
and people say, well, we're a more expensive state, and largely we are. But our teachers are about the third highest paid in the nation.
Good for them.
It's just that they have bigger class sizes. Now, people argue that smaller class sizes are better. There's some studies that say that's not necessarily true. One of the things that I'm hoping will occur in classes going forward and in the schools is the use of hybrid technology or hybrid learning, which is incorporating technology and computer learning. The software for learning is so much better than it's ever been, and the ability to use technology and allow students to learn at their own pace and to get individual instruction is great. This won't replace the teachers. This will allow the teachers to have more time to individually work with students. So
Great.
there's a charter school called Rocket Ship Schools, and they've been using this with English learners and disadvantaged students, and they've been bringing people up to learning levels that are really good. They've been having great success with it.
That's really interesting.
And actually, the Santa Barbara School District is looking to do this as well, with the new superintendent that's coming in. So I applaud them for doing that.
Boy, you do know a lot of details on things.
It's all in the details.
With that in mind, please share your views on early education. If elected, how will you support the various challenges to providing quality preschool and early childhood education programs?
Yeah, the state is actually, under Governor Brown, moving to improve this whole early learning, and they've allocated more money for it, which I think is terrific.
Yeah.
Education is, in my mind, the cure-all for society. I mean, all of society's ills, right? I mean, education helps kids avoid getting into crime.
Right.
It allows them to achieve, higher incomes in life to support themselves and their families. And while they're achieving higher incomes, they pay higher taxes. So it's a really beneficial cycle. It's just the investment, takes a long time to, get a return.
Right.
But it's one of the most important things that we can do as a society is educate our children. The studies all point to quality preschool education as having the huge benefit for especially underprivileged and low-income and English learning students. Those people, they're in families that already don't have much education, so they're at a disadvantage when they're young, as opposed to kids who are in higher socioeconomic families, because they're in higher socioeconomic families because their parents went to school and got good educations. They're making good money. So I think it's a good thing that society does provide them with that extra leg up in school and in life.
I think it's so hard because of the economic situation with two parents working to really care and do quality parenting for children. And I think if the educational system can get in there and really help, it's so important right now.
Yes, I think so too.
Yeah. Okay, please share your views on collective bargaining and management labor relations. In your view, are there any improvements or reforms that can be made?
I mean, that's between the school districts and the local teachers unions. I do think that one of the improvements that can happen in our school systems is longer school years. The state's already added 5 more days to the school year, which I applaud them for doing. I think ultimately maybe another 10 days would be good. The more disadvantaged students have learning loss over the summertime, so the shorter the summer, the less loss they're likely to have. But also the longer days, the more days in school will ensure that more students are up to grade level before they finish the year, and give the teachers more time to bring them up.
Right. What will you do to ensure that there are quality charter schools in California and charter school authorizers are provided the resources to support charter schools?
Well, charter schools are already funded through the state, similar to schools as far as levels. But one of the things that I would do, I would outlaw for-profit charter schools. I don't think that turning a profit is what school should be about. I'm all for nonprofit organizations setting up and delivering education in an efficient and high level quality education, as well as public schools. But I don't think that the incentive to try and shortchange our students in a for-profit environment is just too high. That we shouldn't be taking the chance on that happening.
Let's see, you have a lot of endorsements. Charles Townley. Yes.
Yes, PhD. He's a professor emeritus in education in New Mexico University.
Wow. And Mike Stoker?
Right, he's a past He's a lawyer and past supervisor of Santa Barbara County.
Let's see, Isaac Garrett, past president NAACP.
Yep.
And Frank Hodgkiss,
City councilman.
City councilman, California Small Business Association.
Right, I'm very proud of that one.
Jim Thomas, Santa Barbara County Sheriff, retired. Wow, some interesting people. Stephen Penner.
Attorney.
I know, he's a great attorney, I know that. When did you come to Santa Barbara?
I was born in Santa Barbara.
St. Francis, I bet.
I was. St.
Yes,
Francis Hospital.
indeed.
So I've lived my whole life here on the South Coast.
Okay. Let's see. Tell me a little history about yourself. From a younger age, what were you up to? I know at 13 you said you were...
Yeah, I was watching political stuff.
Political things.
Yeah, on TV. Yeah, I think I really... the moment that really brought home the meaning of politics was when John F. Kennedy was shot.
Oh,
I mean, that was such a national
time.
tragedy.
Heartbreaking.
And I you know, as a kid,
Yeah.
right, it impressed on me the importance of the President of the United States.
That's for sure.
You know, I mean, when somebody does that and the whole nation, you know, has the
Morning.
the effect that it had,
Yeah.
that I realized, you know, how important our government is.
Right. I remember feeling this, everything was unstrung all of a sudden. You know, I mean, he was such a leader and everyone was, you know, there, and that was amazingly tragic. And I think it's interesting for when that happened, when children were 13 or 14, it was a terribly big impression.
Oh, right.
You know, of our fragility and of the importance of who is leading us.
I was at Garfield
Really?
Elementary School, which is now the Schott Center,
Uh-huh.
and we had a little tiny black and white TV up in the corner, you know, near the ceiling.
Amazing.
And, yeah, so we were watching, the events unfold.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, dear.
I mean, that was what we were doing that day.
Yeah. Oh,
And
my.
when they were transporting him to the hospital, it was.
Boy, events unfolded, huh?
Yeah, it was.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Are there any physical locations in Santa Barbara that are particularly significant to you?
I love the mountains. I'd rather have a view of the mountains than the ocean.
Uh-huh.
Well, the beach is great, and
Yes.
the whitewater views are great. But,
Right.
I used to live in Samarkand, and I had the San Roque Mountains framed
Oh, wow.
out my living room window. So
Yeah.
in the morning, I'd have my coffee and just look at the mountains.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I have that now too, and what I'm astonished at are the different colors that happened in the mountains. You know, really beautiful.
Well, the
We're
sandstone.
so lucky.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, when the rain comes and washes the sandstone, and
Uh-huh.
you got that orange and yellow and gold
Yeah, it's beautiful.
highlighted against the dark green.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and the variations in there,
Yeah.
it's just
It
gorgeous.
it kind of reminds me of Ojai in their pink moment, but
we have them all the time.
yeah, our mountains are very, very special. Let's see. What resources do you think Santa Barbara is particularly missing?
Not much.
Well, let's see now. Probably, I think you talked at one time, you really supported the Unity,
Right, Unity Shop.
Yes, yes.
That's a great institution.
and that's for homeless and children.
Well,
and,
and the economically
Underprivileged.
disadvantaged
Right.
and people going through hard times,
right.
and it really helps get them back on their feet.
Uh-huh.
People come to the Unity Shop by referral,
Uh-huh.
right, and then they try to just set them up with what they need, whether it's food or clothing or sending them to other agencies to take care of like housing or
Their
something.
needs.
Yeah. Get them
I've
through
heard-
tough times.
I've heard such good things about that Unity Shop. Let's see. If you could sit on a bench in Shoreline Park and have a chat with any Santa Barbara person, who would it be?
Well, you, of course.
Oh, well, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let's see. If you had an extra $1 million, that's extra, and you wanted to donate, which Santa Barbara charity would receive it?
Unity Shop is right
Unity
at the
Shop.
top of my list. Yeah.
I
There's lots-
expected you to say your political film.
Well, no, and then there's also Direct Relief International.
Oh,
you
that's
know,
awesome.
It's one of the best charities in
Yeah.
the world, in my opinion.
Yes.
They're just you know, and they're pretty quiet, and
They are amazing.
but they spend like 98% of their money on what they're doing,
Helping
and
people.
you know, they get high returns for what they, you know,
Yeah.
what, for their money, and the good that they do in providing medical supplies to. You know,
It is a
emergency
fabulous place. It
situations.
just has the best atmosphere. I remember I spent some time popping the lens out of glasses because they were sending those somewhere. And it's just a really amazing place. It's amazing. Let's see. Are there any questions that I should ask you that I haven't? Or all I can say is I'm incredibly impressed by the amount of knowledge you have. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I kind of know
Yeah,
a little
bit,
about
huh?
a little bit about a lot of things,
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm ready to learn more,
Uh-huh,
and I'm ready
uh-huh.
to, you know, put all the time in that's required to
Yeah.
be up to speed on
Right.
the issues and the legislation that's going to be coming that will affect the citizens of the
Right.
state of California and this district, and I'm just looking for the opportunity to serve them
Uh-huh.
and not special interests.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
my campaign has has no special interest money at this point, and I'm not interested in it. It's being funded by individuals, and I'm in this for the people of the state
Right,
of California and for this district.
So you're funding it yourself, but you certainly need donations,
Well, no,
as anyone does.
I have, you know, contributed to my own campaign, but I have other people that are funding it, and
That's fabulous.
I can use more contributions. So
Yeah.
my website is fullerforassembly.org, and people can see more information and find out more about me, and there's a donation page there too.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Good. Okay, well, this has really been fascinating, and we're really learning more, and we should always research all the candidates. And also remember, Santa Barbara is a very wealthy area with lots of resources, but every night children in Santa Barbara go to sleep hungry. Now it's our village. Let's not make that happen. Thank you.
I'm Chris Jensen from Jensen Guitar and Music Company, and I'm proud to sponsor It Takes a Village. And just so you know where we are, here's my card.
They're playing with Jimmy and Tom. Yippee-ki-yo-ki-yay, gone on the days. Living and being with Daddy and Mom. They have your records of hockey and cheese. They've got that country feeling, you know what I mean. Every time I